Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome back on Business Today Television. The bulls are back on business as far as Dalal Street is concerned. A stampede of gains visiting stocks, indices, and in particular sectors after a late night announcement by both India and the United States that a major trade deal has been struck. This, ladies and gentlemen, was a hanging sword on the neck of Indian bulls on Dalal Street over the last 5-6 months or so. Deep selling pressure was witnessed in mid caps, in small caps, in exporters, in IT companies, in automobile companies, and that, ladies and gentlemen, has ended abruptly overnight. A very strong opening. The Nifty is still up 700 points. The Bank Nifty is up 1500 points. 2.5% gains seen in major indices. Sectoral indices such as the realty index, the auto index are more than 3 and 5% higher. To analyze the entire market, what we should be doing ahead, we are now joined by Mr. Devan Choksi. He's the managing director at DR Smart Finserv, a very well-known analyst, a person whom I personally know has never recommended a short on Indian markets. He just says wait it out for the good things to come, and they have. Namaste Devan bhai, a very warm welcome. How do you see this mega development on the Indo-US trade deal front, sir?
Yeah, namaste Shail. Well, I believe that I think this was probably quite anticipated on few counts. In my viewpoint, I think the important aspect is this is a $500 billion deal between the two countries, which is doubling the size, which is important to know. This is coming after we signed with 27 European countries, which is about $200 billion worth of deal that I think you have signed with. And rest of the world, including UAE, Australia, we have signed, I think, the FTAs, I think, which is basically keeping the roadmap very clear for India that we are becoming a $1 trillion the export economy very shortly. That is obviously coming out very clearly from this entire deals that we are seeing. So in the background of this particular number, when we start looking at this deal, I think few things emerges out very clearly. What are we doing to get into the country like America? We have actually preempted few things, and that is where I think I would like to invite the attention. Pact Silica, the agreement which America initiated, and Japan, Singapore, Netherlands, among other countries who signed this particular Pact Silica agreement, largely to safeguard the economy of the world and its interest from the requirement of rare earth material, from the requirement of semiconductors, or the requirement of data centers, etc. I think they signed this particular deal in late 2025 December. They invited India late in January 2026, and India has not yet signed this particular deal. Strategically, I believe so. Largely because of the fact that India wanted to probably announce in the budget that what they are doing to meet this particular order, which America has stated in Pact Silica. India has provided for 20 years of tax holiday for data centers. India has provided for 4 corridors for rare earth mining, which was up till now missing. India has provided for higher allocation of funds for semiconductors, which means the global economy, if it has to travel into the AI era, and if this deal has to be seen from that perspective, India has done a wonderful job in my viewpoint. In fact, as we talk, I believe that today the digital economy in the country is somewhere around $400 billion. 10 years from now, the digital economy in India would be somewhere around $2 trillion, which is 5 times growth of the digital economy. And who better than America can be your partner in this digital economy? Who better than the American companies who have championed the entire subject of digital economy, including data center? So in my viewpoint, I think this particular deal is actually laying the foundation for inviting a large size investment into this country. I call it the data center effect as far as I think India is concerned for next 10 years, 20 years now. And this deal should be seen from that perspective. It is not going to be a short-term arrangement. It is going to be an arrangement where both the countries if India is importing oil, energy, and the technology from America, America will be importing all the manufactured parts from India to drive their country, including the aviation segment as well. So, in my viewpoint, I think this deal sounds, I think, absolutely reassuring of the path that we are talking about.
Okay, fair point. And now, with this very positive and long-term beneficial background, Devan bhai, let's do what you do best, which is picking out sectors and stocks that will benefit in the medium term and short term as well, as far as these transactions are concerned. Where is your research team focused on as far as the GCC opportunity is concerned in India? A 21-year tax holiday, a clearance coming in the form of US Indo tax deal, and more importantly, a massive demand for GCCs.
Yes, I think the good part is that I think they have covered the gambit, I think, through this particular budget, in this budget, by way of including all the services provided in IT, including GCs, which means I think the ambiguity on the transfer pricing, which was till now haunting most of the IT companies, and ambiguity of this transfer pricing was affecting some of the large companies to come into India and set up their companies out here. I think that part is now taken care of by way of safe harbor rate of around 15.5%. In my viewpoint, I think this is again a very positive direction that they have put across. So I think if one is looking at driving the economy through the GCC, I think we have provided the tax mechanism which is far more superior with a good amount of clarity. Indian IT companies are basically shaping up in the area of AI and integrating very well with the AI. In fact, if you look at the entire pyramid of AI, at the bottom foundation, I think all the American companies which are providing the infrastructure in form of developing the supercomputers, hardware, etc. One layer above, I think, are the ones I think who are there, the LLM providers like I think the Gemini of the world, or for that matter, Meta of the world, who are providing all the LLMs or the Chat GPT kind of companies. Uh, the top one above that, I think, is the area where Indian companies are championing, where we are doing the software programming, coding, etc. And on the top of it, I think all the AI-based application which are now getting developed, that is what is important now, that India is now providing. So in my viewpoint, I think we are at the top of the pyramid in the sense that we are going to be providing a large part of IT services to the global nation. In fact, I think most of the IT company stocks I think were underrated or not rated well, largely because of the fact that if American companies are not spending enough money, I think where will be the technology traveling to? Today, I think that cloud is over. In my viewpoint, I think some of the IT companies are likely to win very large orders given this particular deal getting signed and all. So, in my viewpoint, I think we are going in a direction where once again the growth is reviving and reviving at a very fast speed. So, one should be remaining more confident of possibilities than otherwise.
Okay, fair point. So IT is a clear trade. Now, how about textiles? How about erstwhile favorites like Bharat Forge? How about companies like Sona Comstar, Balkrishna Industries? These are all exporters to the US. And how about chemical companies?
Again, I think for chemical companies, after signing the Euro deal, basically, I think with 27 nations in Euro region, three chemical zones are being created, which means that I think we are reinventing the entire subject in a way that I think we can basically meet the global environmental criteria as well of some of the European nations, because they are very particular about I think the carbon footprint getting created in the world, and they would like to deal with only those companies which are basically meeting those standards. So government has very aptly put across the entire chemical zone business in this particular budget, and they've also talked about providing a budget in a way I think to basically give the carbon capture kind of a mechanism a shape, so that I think we become compatible with the global players who could possibly buy from India. In my viewpoint, I think if I'm not overestimating, these chemical zones that we are talking about, three chemical zones that we are talking about in the budget, could possibly lead to some of the large global corporates coming into India and partnering with some of the Indian companies. So this is going to be a game changer in a way. We are likely to see a significantly large amount of, I think, growth coming out from Euro region as well as from America. So this is one strong area which companies to look at. We will have to wait for some time before I think we know how exactly the companies are positioning themselves into this game plan. Textiles you referred to, in my viewpoint, I think they are emphasized significantly on creating the large textile parks, and that is where technical textiles, I think, could, along with the apparels, would probably find themselves in a relatively better environment. And given the kind of duty structure that we currently enjoy now, vis-a-vis China and vis-a-vis Vietnam, and even Bangladesh for that matter, in my viewpoint, this particular duty structure is going to create advantage to India in form of, I think, technical textiles as well as for the apparels business that we are talking about. We are likely to see a significantly large amount of investment also entering into these areas, which is getting a very proper shape. So, along with this, you auto ancillaries and auto component business is also going to take a very firm shape here because Indian companies have actually been investing in the advanced automatics vehicles, the software-driven vehicles, of course, but in the ADAS system as well. I think we are basically going in for FHD segment with some of the companies playing a role out there. America is one country which is basically going to source this kind of technology from India because our manufacturing base is possibly allowing us to create the products at a far more competitive price, which America may probably want to see year after. So this is again, I think, going to become a very formidable kind of an environment in which some of the auto ancillary companies could possibly give a relatively larger amount of business to to themselves at the same time. OEMs, of course, I think the European deal is also, I think Europe deal is also, I think, very significantly providing for India mid-sized car export, etc. So I think we remain distinctly positive about the possibilities. Respective companies will have to wait till the time we hear, I think, the plans that they are implementing given this kind of policy regime which has happened now.
Right, sir. Okay. The other aspect, Devan bhai, I wanted to get your view on was the medium to longer term implications of the budget. You have mentioned in particular the 21-year tax holiday extended to GCCs. That's a wonderful, wonderful roadmap for people to set up really long-term business plans in India. Now, what else attracted your attention where potential multi-baggers hide?
Well, I think the larger emphasis is likely to be on the power sector, renewable power sector. Because when you are putting across a data center environment, which is giving a visibility of next 20 years, global majors, when they come to build the data center into the country, they don't come alone. They come along with the entire power and power related ecosystems that you want to have, air conditioning and air conditioning system that you want to have, IT and IT related ecosystem that you want to have. This is the typical nature of data centers that you will probably be providing for. So these companies, likes of Amazon, likes of Microsoft, likes of Google, or Meta for that matter, when they enter into this country with the proposition of data center, I think they come along with an entire ecosystem. Call it a Maruti effect. Maruti in 80s came in, Suzuki came into the country, tied up with Maruti, and created, I think, the entire ancillary base in the country. And today we see the benefit of this particular thing, which has happened 40 years back. I think this is an event which is now reality, wherein we are likely to see the larger amount of players coming into power and power ancillary business. In my viewpoint, I think this is going to be a game changer. On one end, India is progressing extraordinarily well with, I think, green hydrogen mechanism. We are already, I think, surpassing our solar power capacity creation, which we had kept it for 2027. We achieved it in 2025, and most likely the target that we have kept for 2030 will be achieved in 2027 itself. So apart from being, I think, a carbon neutral ahead of time, I think we are also saving significantly large amount of cost in form of power. And if I am right in my understanding, power cost, which is right now at around 8 to 10 rupees per unit for thermal power from the grid, and the captive power which you are using through the renewable source, which is now probably costing negative because I think it is not, you are basically taking the pump off as well. in my viewpoint, I think this is going to be a game changer. If the power comes down, blended power cost comes down to Indian manufacturers to 4 or 5 rupees per unit in 5 years or 6 years from now, according to me, I think the world will be happy to source from India. India would be happy to provide to world. So in that sense, I think manufacturing sector, along with power and ancillary sector, I think are the ones I think which we probably would like to give a first preference. Along with I think the businesses which are attached to this data center activity, including the real estate companies and construction companies like Larsen, we feel that I think they should be having a good time going forward.
Right. On those very optimistic and practically oriented thoughts, we'd like to pause here for a while. Devan bhai, thank you so much. As always, it's such a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you, Shail. I think I enjoyed talking to you.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was Devan Choksi, Managing Director at Choksi Finserv, a very intelligent, practically oriented stock picker over the last 3 decades or so. Please stay along with Business Today Television. There is a lot of development happening on the other side of the break. Thank you for watching.